Well, anyway, according to the information, okay, in my memory of like a refrigerator Perry, um, the football player, and his jersey number 72, there's something about the Consumer Report price index, or what FDA approved, food and beverage is or is not. Anyway, so like getting into the African American in '72 is kind of like the COVID ID 19 thing, and I was like, even looking at the Mercedes um, thing about the emblem and the 3 point thing about the pi r squared being 3 point, and Mercedes emblem is a 3 point. Okay, um, emblem, on virtually every single Mercedes Benz. In any case, yeah. So something about the three being a factor of pi r squared, and ultimately getting to a 3.1416, and the 1 6 being like a 1 day, one holy day, and a 6 remaining days, and a choice of what holy day, whether it's going to be on a Saturday like a Seventh Day Adventist, or alternating between above, and 6 remaining days of the week equating to 7, and then the all of a sudden thing about that would be the 3.147, and there's something about the U.S. The United States Secretary of Treasury Robert E. Rubin, um, in that way, that seemed to be so very significant, with his last name being Rubin, 64, and E. Rubin being 69, in reference to even information to the history of the U.S. dollar and the 12 Federal Reserve banks in that way, going below the equator, which is some of the stuff I'm like looking at right now in the AOL acronym, and the hard thing. Well, anyway, the congestive side I had to do, and I have been because I felt the need to, but it's kind of like everything is kind of like the way the information is like there, and I'm looking at it, it's kind of like, you gotta be kidding me. And well, anyway, so the thing about the refrigerator pairing is the thing about the football, ultimately getting to the shape of a football and the spherical quadrants, and the distinguishing difference of the ground rule double between a tennis court and a baseball field, and a 90-degree right angle of a baseball field, and a marginal spread uh, of the tennis court itself, of practical application. In any case, yeah. So with that said, I was like looking at it, specifically that way, because um, the marginal spread is terminology that can even be found at the New York Stock Exchange, and investments, um, that way. Um, and I was focusing predominantly that. Anyway, like it ultimately, and I was doing like all this, like decade, studying like all that like decades ago, but progressively, past the 7 year point. I mean, I just like whenever I felt like it. But there was a time, going through a circuit, that I felt the need to do it as often as possible, day and night, um, as often as possible. If the availability was day and night, well then it was really day and night. Okay. Um, anyway, so I was like looking for that kind of stuff like that. Well, anyway, I was reading the Black's Law Dictionary, and then getting into the exclusionary rule provision and the acronym ERP, and automatically I was looking for acronyms when I was reading the exclusionary rule provision, and what seems to be really a principle of like pi r squared at the same time. The exclusionary rule, like a line of pi r squared. I mean, it's there, but based upon the formula computation, getting what you know is there, um, a representative of like the exclusionary rule of a pi r squared factor, um, involving sovereign immunities, governmental amnesty, and executive powers, and simple banking, um, a daily banking method of banking, um, predominantly even a terminology that seems to be you know focusing predominantly on um, that. In any case, so like the South American thing about the AOL, okay, like I'm a drummer, okay. Well, anyway, like through quite a bit of like I, I'm in a hospital and predominantly I felt the need to really get into having some level of knowledge, and really I already did, but not quite as in depth as it is now. Since the last year, I haven't had a need. Just like when I do like alphanumerics and linguistics, it's kind of like whenever I feel like a thing, and sometimes when I feel like it, I mean it'll go on for weeks, if not months sometimes. But yeah, so it's not as consistent and constant as it used to be. But anyway, it was for like a 7 year period, nonstop alphanumerics, and when I combined the linguistics along with the alphanumerics, the study of language, and applied the principle as well to it, um, and which is a big deal with like degrees of interchangeability and compatibility about the principle. Okay, and studying language, looking for those principles that way, in coordination with the alphanumerics, and finding alphanumeric placement. Um, it became almost like a fixture in real estate, practical application, um, that way, not limited to. In any case, so like it ultimately, going through it all, including like the HOA, the GMC, GMA, GMAC, and the IEEE. Okay, being the 24 thing of like homeowners association, and General Motors Acceptance Corporation, and the International Electrical Electronic Engineering thing, and from 24 with the IEEE, the big O, turns into the 39 thing, and it's referred to as the uh, International Electrical Electronic Engineering Organization all the time. Not all the time, but yeah, so it's like the alphanumerics of like 39 has that connectivity with the ERP, in that way, in OPEC, in that way of what I'm referring to as a pi r squared thing about a century, and the subconsonants minus chase thing equating to 181 electronic power, Houston, Texas, Pearland, Texas home, and alphanumerics USA, and um, we international, and quite a bit that way. But anyway, um, so I was like looking at it that way, and attenuation being 140, like Pearland, Texas, like where I live at. But anyway, yeah. So in any case, yeah. So I've been like really looking at it, even more so when I get into it. It seems that I've looked at it and like studied it that long, that when I get like a lead, it's kind of like it's an automatic know what to look for thing. So I mean, at this point, in the beginning, I had absolutely no idea what I was looking for, really. Um, Truthfully so. And ultimately, all this information is just like fell into place and has led to ultimately like really what's going on right now. But anyway, so like the AOL of like the song, like a South American thing, AOL seems to be like the ablation of the heart, and like the papermate pen, and that double heart on the papermate pen. And I mean, it's like an automatic thing about a federal level in my mind about when and where I was at. Not limited to, but yeah, that as well. Um, so like I was like getting into it, about it. So anyway, yeah. So that way, with the oblation, ablation and oblation, um, pronunciation sounds almost identically the same, depending upon proper pronunciation, or just like a normal, you know, thing of like just knowing. Uh, in any case, yeah. So that AOL thing and AOL, America Online acronym, seems to be, I've heard the Heartbeat of America and Chevrolet thing, for years. The Heartbeat of America being Chevrolet thing, ultimately a General Motors thing, General Motors and the General Motors Acceptance Corporation, and what GMAC is to promissory notes in a way of even a stationary engineer, even a mechanic's lien, or even a medical power of attorney being used as all that, as a deed restriction, a mechanic's lien, um, the list goes on and on about, um, the HOA, the General Motors, and even a mechanic's lien in the way of what a medical power of attorney um, being, used kind of like in that way. Um, yeah, so anyway, I'm going to have to think about it real quick. So anyway, there it is, yeah.